Welcome to Dreams Modified but Not Deterred. I'm Judith. Thank you for tuning into my channel another time. Taking notes. To some, taking notes mean different things. So to my toddler, taking notes mean maybe finding a recipe on how to make pizza. What are the things you need? The dough. Maybe you want to make that dough, or maybe you're buying a pre-made dough. You need tomato sauce. Maybe you're going to make that tomato sauce. You need the steps on how to make that tomato sauce. And then you need cheese. Mozzarella cheese, whatever type of cheese you like on the top of your pizza. You need portion control as well. To others, taking notes might mean taking note of each time their neighbor walks their dog across their lawn. Taking notes may mean being in a class setting where you need to take annotations or notes and prepare for a presentation or for a test. Taking notes might mean taking note of the places you have gone so that you have kind of a mental outlook on remembering the path you have taken. But when I talk about taking notes, it can also mean writing in a diary or creating videos of different experiences in your life. But taking notes is so imperative. Mental health is so imperative. So taking mental notes, I would say, is so important. Think about past fulfillment, or think about times when God has actually came through for you, or think about times when you were going through a storm and somehow you had different thoughts, somehow you have different experiences during that season. I think it's important to be in those moments so that in other moments of your life you can bring remembrance to those very same things. Because storms will occasionally come in life. It's not sunny every day, right? Regardless of what area you live in this world, the weather will somewhat fluctuate, or the weather will somewhat change. So likewise in your life, there are going to be seasons of stagnancy. There's going to be season where you are hoping for change and it seems like change won't come. But if you think about the story of the Israelites and how Moses led them out into the promised land, and during that season, they were fearful, they complained, they were impatient, they lacked faith. They even looked for other tangible gods, like worshiping an idol, And so when you think about life in itself, or your life, you should think about what are you doing in those seasons? What are you doing in those seasons? So in my life, there were seasons in my life where I felt a sense of complacency and stagnancy. There was stuff I needed to happen and seemingly it was not happening within the time frame in which I expected it to happen. And so instead of complaining, well, to be honest with you, I'm sure I complained in that season, maybe not to others, but I would have those conversations with God, and in those conversations it would be a matter of, Lord, you didn't bring me this far for me to go through these trials and these temptations. You didn't bring me this far to experience the season that I was experiencing, the season of stagnancy and lack of fruitfulness. But in those seasons, I believe God was teaching me something or allowing me patience. And we don't like patience. We need things to happen like right now. Many of us like a drive-through. And if you go to a sit-down restaurant, you probably feel like, oh my God, I ordered, it's been 30 minutes. But you don't realize your meal has to be seasoned. Your meal needs to be cooked. It needs to go through a process in order for it to get to a place where you have deep satisfaction. So right now, where you are feeling stagnant, where you're feeling low, where you're feeling like God has forgotten you, He has not forgotten you. He has not forgotten you. Take a pause and remember at some point in your life He came through for you. And if you're saying, I don't remember God coming through for me at all, then I do believe that you have to take a pause. Did He come through for your kids? did he come through for a family member? Because the same way how he came through for them, he will come through for you as well. And so that is very important for you to remember. Think back on those times. Think back at those times when God came through for you, when he made a way for you. So take notes of how you're feeling in this moment. Take note of how you're feeling in this moment. Take note of the obstacles you're facing. Take note of the fact that you're feeling disheartened and forgotten. And just know that God is able. Know that he's working things out. Those desires you have will be aligned with God at some point if you seek his face, if you have faith, just like a mustard seed. And it's also important to note that when there are seasons in your life where you're going through something, so say for example you went and do a test and they find the test to be that of something that may be like a death wish. If you are crazy enough to trust God that he's going to heal you, he's going to touch your body, he's going to make a way, don't allow anyone who might just be concerned about you to somehow impact or burden you with their concern and worry. Have your crazy faith, because your faith is not the same as someone else's faith. And sometimes in those seasons, someone can be so concerned that their worry becomes your worry. So if he brought me out before, he's going to bring me out again. And you have to tell yourself that. And then if you say to yourself, what makes me less than anybody else so I'm not having the opportunities? Remember, we're all walking our own pathway. We're all walking our own pathway. So remember the thoughts you had in those seasons of trials before. Remember the people who were there for you. Remember the emotions you encountered. Remember to be patient, because it is important for you to be patient. None of us likes patience. None of us like to be tested and tried, but when you go through that season, it makes you have a better appreciation for what God is doing in your life and where he has brought you from. And so if he brings you through this season of your life, know that you might have another season. Will you remember? Will you remember how he took you through this season? Will you remember how impatient you were in this season? Will you remember what spoke to your heart? Will you remember what he laid on your heart, to be exact? Will you remember that? Will you remember what you promised? Because many times we negotiate with God what we will do or want to do in the event that he bring us through. So take notes of his promises, take notes of your promises, and just take life one day at a time. You're still in the land of the living, and if you're in the land of the living, there's hope. There is possibility if you keep holding on to your faith, keep holding on to the possibilities. And remember, you do not have to deter your dream, you can modify them.